And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Benched with Bubba, episode 122. Going to talk some fantasy football tonight as week 2 is in the books for the NFL season. Talk some topics, player development and whatnot over the weekend, and then some waiver wire targets for your week 3 action. In order to do so, going to be joined by a guest from the quantedge.com, a website that we are big fans of, as Elliot's been on the show many times, and we enjoy the products they're putting out over there. So I'm getting to know a guy named Brad Reyes. You can check him out on Twitter at Mean Mr. Mode. Brad, thanks for joining me tonight. How you doing?
Terrific. Thanks for having me on. This is an exciting opportunity to come out here and talk about fantasy football.
Heck yeah, fantasy football. You cover a play draft at the Quant Edge, and you're part of a podcast as well, aren't you?
Yeah, we have a draft strategy podcast, and that will be more. It'll be from football, and then we're going to branch out into basketball, and I think eventually we'll have all the sports the draft covers. So I'll be pretty busy once basketball and hockey starts. Man, I'm going to be very busy.
I love it. Yeah, I love it because draft's a big. They're an affiliate with us at Bench with Bubba, and I love their product. Their product is a great product, and I can't wait till they maybe branch out to a couple other sports, but they're good at what they do. So it's pretty awesome. The best ball format's the best out there, in my opinion, and that's. They don't pay me. I'm just saying that's outstanding product they have there. But let's talk some NFL action with your Quant Edge guys. And we'll start with some kind of things that took place, some storylines over the weekend. The Denver Broncos backfield continues to be a mess. Going into the season, it was the rush. We had the Royce Freeman show. We had Booker. Now you got more and more going on back there. Even a new guy in Philip Lindsay coming into play. And it's getting pretty split down the middle, like 35-20 or something. How do you look at this situation going forward? Are they flex eligible, or are they just like, I don't want anything to do with these guys?
Well, I'm looking at Philip Lindsay as flex eligible. He's getting enough of the passing game that I'm interested in seeing what he can do on a weekly basis. The biggest concern for me is Royce Freeman. Man, I think we as an industry, we just kind of got fooled that Royce Freeman was going to come in there and just be a bell cow. Or that Devontae Booker was going to be the starter, and then Royce Freeman was going to be eased into the role. And then Philip Lindsay just drops like right after the preseason and comes out of nowhere and just has looked phenomenal in the job.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's been the most confusing part. Like, you use a high draft pick on this guy. Lindsay wasn't even like in the picture in the preseason. And now Lindsay looks outstanding. It's very tilting. I agree that Lindsay could definitely be flex relevant. The part I'm scared about is we've seen these committees so many times. Like, one of these weeks is just going to completely switch and they forget all about somebody. That's my biggest concern. But at this moment, for what we have, I completely agree. Lindsay seems to be the play in Denver. Let's talk Baltimore Ravens backfield. It was the topic of conversation Friday morning. Buck Allen versus Alex Collins. Collins, was a second, maybe third round pick in a lot of fantasy drafts, not as much in PPR, but he has a really solid floor, and he still produced. He had double-digit fantasy points last week because he found the end zone. But Buck Allen's getting a heavy workload. What's the level of concern here? Are you still okay with Alex Collins? How do you look at the Baltimore situation?
Well, I was never 100% in on Alex Collins just because the Ravens never seemed committed to him. He seemed like found money to them. He came in, he performed well, but they have a relationship with Buck Allen to where their coaching staff just likes to use him. So I think he's kind of the Mark Ingram of, and I'm totally stealing this from somebody. I forget who it is, but he's the Mark Ingram of the Ravens.
Hey, well, Mark Ingram was very usable last year. So
that's what I mean. Buck Allen's an enormous threat to Collins' production.
No, right now.
Yeah, and in best balls, I have Allen just about everywhere. I loved him in best ball. The value was just there. Nobody thought he had anything. Thought Dixon was going to come in and perform. He can't stay on the field.
Yeah, no, Buck Allen was definitely one of those great targets, especially in a zero running back strategy that you could take late and just roll with in a best ball. That's a very good call there. Let's go to Buffalo. LeSean McCoy. He's actually playing. We were curious if he'd even played to start the season. He's playing on a very, very bad football team. Reports on Sunday come out that he breaks his ribs. Now it's just, messed up cartilage on his ribs. The ribs aren't broken. Who knows what's going on? Bottom line is Buffalo's bad. They have a horrible offensive line. What do you do with this situation? Because I don't even know if the backup's even relevant.
Well, yeah, with LeSean McCoy and his rib situation going up against the Vikings, he's not going to produce anyway. Even if his ribs weren't broken, he's in no position to do anything. I'm more interested in seeing if if I'm in a larger league, say a 16-man or a 20-man league, I might actually look at picking up a guy like Josh Allen. I mean, he's getting 4.8 yards per carry, no touchdowns, and he doesn't see any of the passing game. But Marcus Murray sees more of the passing game, but just doesn't seem to have the same running ability.
No, that's an interesting call because if they're that bad and it's going to be a lot of garbage time, you really don't – he can still throw 2 to 3 picks a week and be productive. Yeah. So I get like in a 2-quarterback league, a super flex, that could be actually pretty useful there in a weird way. So I see what you're saying there because most people think Josh Allen are like, no, I want nothing to do with this guy. He's horrible, so on and so forth. But in fantasy, you got to peel back the layers, and I totally see what you're saying there. It makes a ton of sense. Kind of a common theme with these first 3 questions were running back situations where the pass-happy back seems to be getting a lot of the workload these days, and we're seeing that across the NFL landscape. The receiving running backs are doing very, very well, while the rushing running backs are kind of disappearing. Matt Breida led this last week with like 140 rushing yards. I saw somewhere that James Conner was the number 5 fantasy running back this week, and he had 17 yards on the ground. I don't think Todd Gurley, who had a huge game, he didn't play the fourth quarter, but I don't think he got the 50 yards on the ground either. How are we evaluating the running back situation these days? Because we're seeing so much just passing game dependent backs where, McCaffrey and Chris Thompson last week and both had at least 15 targets. It's getting pretty crazy out there.
Well, it looked to be a kind of a common strategy in the NFL now to rely on your passing down backs because more open offenses generally want to get a receiver open closer to the quarterback, and using the running back out of the slot has really just been a great benefit for that. And I completely fell apart on that, but sorry.
It's all good. No problem. Let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons, another running back dilemma here. And Devonta Freeman, going towards the end of last week, they're saying he's going to be out 2 to 3 weeks. Now they're already saying those are false reports. He could be back as early as this week. Tevin Coleman was a beast. We knew it going into it. Game logs, everyone was tweeting about it, that when Devonta wasn't on the field, Coleman was the number 1. He's a fantasy stud, and he produced for everybody on DraftKings and everywhere else. Price went up this week on DraftKings. Still could be in play for sure. Question I have for you is, A, how concerned are you with Devonta Freeman? But B, Ito Smith, they took him as a draft pick. He's got some talent, had a little bit of flash last week. Could he fill into that Tevin Coleman role and show a little bit of use depending on how long Freeman's out?
Yeah, I think Ito Smith's got some potential, but for the time being, Atlanta looks to be leaning on one running back with that the Ito Smith and combination. So I'm really worried about the Freeman coming back, but not this week. I think it's going to be the Tevin Coleman show.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Tevin Coleman this week. I think he's going to be in for another monster performance for the Redbirds. The Patriots, as a Dolphins fan, and I can finally say that with a smile for once we're 2-0 and we're leading the AFC East, which is, I don't remember if that's ever happened. It's happened a long time ago. Let's just put it that way. But the Patriots did a Patriots thing, and they got Josh Gordon. This is what the Patriots do. They take other people's problems and make them great. Josh Gordon's talent has never been the question. It's just, can he get it together? And we're all pulling for him to get his life together. That's never been the question, I think, at least most sane individuals. How do you feel? Do you feel that the Patriots are going to make him into because some people are saying this is the next Randy Moss in New England. Some are saying there's no way this is going to matter. Edelman's coming back soon. Just don't worry about it.
Well, I actually like him quite a bit to kind of take over a little bit of that Cook role they had last year.
Okay, I like that.
As far as his substance abuse issues, I mean, that's a complete wild card at this point. We don't know if he can even get on the field. But if he can, he's going to be an interesting piece. He's a stud, and he's a danger to score a touchdown anytime he touches the ball. So if Belichick can't get anything out of him, I think he's done in the league. Exactly.
I think this is literally put up or shut up time for Josh Gordon. If you want to play, if you want to have a career, if you want to make $40 or $50 or $60 million before you're done playing football, you really need to just get your stuff together. And it seemed like he was, and again, we're pulling for him to make it work. but something had to go wrong there in Cleveland. We'll find out on when it's 30 for 30 or Sunday. And it could just be Hugh Jackson being Hugh Jackson for all we know. But I think it's more than that. I'd hope it's more than that because he makes a lot of dumb decisions. But let's hope this is one of them. I had a question in our Slack chat that we have. Someone asked, what percentage of fab would you give for Josh Gordon? And I said, I love his talent. I think he's great. I'm not sure the situation, so I wouldn't go crazy. I think, if you need a guy badly, you can go crazy on him. But I'd say like 20%, 25% keep him honest bid. What are you doing for Josh Gordon? Because there's, like I said, there's a whole spectrum of people that are in love with him or they don't want anything to do with him.
I'm almost on team. I don't want anything to do with him at this point. I live in Ohio, and I've seen this story play out over a 6-year period, and I'm kind of done with it. My hope is all out the window. I've got other priorities.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. That's what I told this guy. I said, what's your wide receiver situation look like? And he told me his guys, and they're all number ones or 1As. Like, they're all creative. So you don't even need this guy. All you need to do is you can put like a bid out there and keep him on his bid that if some guys, like if your league for some reason, nobody wants him, and you get him for like $15, okay, you can play with that. But I said, don't go crazy and get stuck with him because you're not going to use him, basically. That's what it comes down to. All right, let's go to Minnesota. Dalvin Cook already, Brad. It took 2 weeks. He's saying he was just, cramping when reports were a hamstring injury, which in theory is a way of cramping, but it just hurts a lot more and has more severity in the long run. He said he's going to be okay. I think he's going to miss at least 1 week. Latavius Murray should get the lead role, but there's another horse in the backfield. What are we doing this weekend with the Minnesota Vikings?
Well, actually, the only thing I'm doing with the Minnesota Vikings is hoping that Dalvin Cook's injury was really just a cramp. Unfortunately, he's also got Buffalo, who game script-wise looks great for him, but if he's hurt or if there's any risk whatsoever, there's no need to have him out there. Yeah. They're gonna roll past Buffalo no matter what. It's like going to be a 35-3 game.
Yeah, Heath Cummings from CBS said it best today in a tweet. He says Buffalo doesn't have a divisional matchup till week 13. He said no one should lose a Survivor week until at least week 13. I was like, that's a pretty good quote. That's pretty good.
That's how I've been running it. Everybody against the Bills.
Yep, that's a great strategy. Do you have any interest in Latavius Murray this week?
In this week, I mean, if I'm desperate and in a super deep league, sure. But for the most part, I'm not really on Latavius Murray. It doesn't seem like the Vikings are really committed to him, and they have a couple of good backup with Boone and Rock. Oh, God, I forget his last name now. But you get the idea who I'm talking about.
Yeah,
the guy was really good in preseason.
Yeah, that's the name everyone's been throwing out there. Rock Thomas, yes. Yeah. Everyone's been throwing him out there today, everywhere I've listened. And I'm sitting there going, okay, guys, let's be real. And I get it. They could be blowing him out. But this is Latavius Murray's show until something goes wrong. Like, if Rock Thomas has a big game, it's probably because he had a fluke run in the fourth quarter or something. I don't think there's anything. I don't think there's game script where all of a sudden Rock Thomas is going to go get like 35% of the workload like Latavius Murray gets. I don't see that happening. But
no, that definitely won't happen. But I mean, in terms of like a flyer on a GPP, I'm looking at some of the backfield options that aren't Latavius Murray.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a very, very interesting part there to talk about. Another running back. This is a trend this week, and it's sadly I think it's going to be a trend with baseball or football for quite some time. Is David Johnson, and this is depressing because I'm going to throw this out here right out the gate. Last year, I never get a number 1 pick. I was so excited. I took David Johnson, and we all know how that ended up. So that was no fun. This year, I'm in 4 or 5 leagues. And I think I had a top 3 pick in every league somehow. I don't know why. I'm going to be screwed for the future. Like I think I used all of my bonus points up this year, and I'm screwed now. But I got Gurley in a couple, and then I got Gurley in 3. And I said, screw it. I want to go back to the David Johnson well to see if it's kind of a bounce back year because the talent's there. He didn't hurt his legs. Right. I guess I didn't factor in that Mike McCoy is a moron. Like, absolutely. That's the nicest way I could say it. And this, you can say whatever you want on this show because I put the explicit content up. I've had some guys that are sailors on this show. But I try to keep it as clean as possible unless you get fired up. It happens. But I see these game scripts and these pictures of these graphs of running plays yesterday, and everything's up the middle. And we know David Johnson can bounce it outside. We know he's great out of the slot, and always he's getting one pass attempt, one target out of the backfield. How, as you can tell by my enthusiasm here, panic has set in. What's your panic what's your panic level with David Johnson?
My panic level is it's like code red. I mean, he's in a terrible situation all of a sudden. His production has never been a problem until now. And he, like you said, the injury he had last season was a wrist injury. There was nothing wrong with his legs. This shouldn't be this sort of year. There's nobody really behind him that's great. I mean, you got Chase Edwards.
Yep.
I mean, Chase Edwards is a nice passing down back, but he's not David Johnson.
Exactly.
And I think another huge problem is that Sam Bradford is terrible in this team. He is not running this team very well. I'm really hoping they move to Josh Rosen sooner than later.
Yeah, I have no idea what they have to lose about this time, because this last week against the Rams, and the Rams are a very good team. There's no hiding that. But that was embarrassing. I saw that they didn't pass midfield till their last drive. A minute left in the game was the first time their offense passed midfield. Oh, that is like, I could play blindfolded on Madden, and I haven't played Madden since the PS3 came out. Like, I haven't even played it on a PS3 format. I think they have a PS4 now. I could probably still get past midfield with a blindfold on. Like, that is just bad, Mike McCoy. So yeah, go to Rosen. I'm in panic mode, but I can't sell him. What I'm more curious about is, are you thinking of, okay, someone's going to have to change something? They've already come out today saying we got to use him more out of the slot and stuff. Could just be coach speak. Who knows? Are you maybe trying to trade for him at a bargain price right now?
Yeah, I'm trying to trade for him at a bargain price, because running back is still at a premium, and if he does get back up to his bell count numbers, he's going to be a beast.
Would you trade James Conner for David Johnson?
Maybe in a couple of weeks when it looks like Lev Bell might be coming back. Yeah. Right now, no. I like Conner a little bit better than DJ, and that's kind of rough to say.
Banged up Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, I'd consider trading for banged up Dalvin Cook. I'll take my chances with a guy who's, well, you see Dalvin Cook's usage. The only thing he's not doing is scoring touchdowns.
No, that's true. That's very, very true. What about a Leonard Fournette who's banged up as well?
Leonard Fournette's becoming one of the biggest headaches I've ever seen in a fantasy football season. So I might pass on Leonard Fournette. Great upside, but the team's better without him. So
yeah, I wanted nothing to do with Fournette in the draft season. People thought I was crazy. I wanted nothing to do with him at all.
He's looking like trade bait. So
yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking. I'm really as panicky as I am. I also see the upside of, they can't go all year like this. And then, of course, I listened to the Fantasy Footballers this morning, and they go out and throw the stat out when 2 years ago when Gurley had his horrible season. I believe it was a Sam Bradford-like performance behind a quarterback and a horrible offense of Jeff Fisher, and then things changed. So, yeah, it could just be a whole year. I would be hoping to God it's not, but we shall see.
Yeah.
All right, last piece of info here before we get to the waiver wires, and this one is like literally they say Rome is burning. I think Pittsburgh is burning down. The Steel City is having issues right now. Lev Bell again, back-to-back weeks now. He's partying it down in Miami. He's on a jet ski the other day, just saying, you know what? I'm making it rain out here. I don't care. I'm healthy. I'm having fun. There's girls everywhere. I'll see you guys in week 10. Now Antonio Bryant's pissed. Like it just gets Antonio Brown. It gets better and better in Pittsburgh. Didn't show up to film study on Monday. Mike Tomlin said he talked to him on Tuesday. Haven't heard how that went, but right. I'm pretty sure AB's got the leverage in this situation. So. Any concern with Pittsburgh right now? Because they've also are 0-1-1.
Yeah, there's massive concerns with Pittsburgh right now. I think they're going to have to get the AB situation resolved sooner than later. They've got a serious morale problem with their veterans, and this is okay. It's different if it's just one guy. Now that we've got two guys that have had heavy usages in their career and felt a little bit shortchanged by the organization in contract negotiations, rightly or wrongly. So now you have, like I said, a major morale problem. You don't know how that's going to affect the rest of the team. The only player I see that really is coming out of this and pretty good is Juju Smith-Schuster. Huge. He's handled this like a pro. I mean, he's going to be the #1 wide receiver next year for the Steelers. I love this kid, and I really hope that the Steelers can just go ahead and perhaps consider trading AB and Lev Bell. I mean, you're going to get maximum value for AB. I mean, you're still going to get like a second or third round pick plus other incentives and probably another player. I mean, it's hard to get a first round pick out of anybody these days.
Yeah, that's the interesting part. I want to see what they'd be able to pull off there because I think AB you get a huge haul for, like you said. Bell's the one, and you're gonna have to like get him to agree to come in basically to trade him.
Right.
But at this point in time, you almost need to do something. Like just letting him sit out there, and sure, he's just people say he's wasting money, but I've been on the team Bell train before the season started saying, hey, if they're going to work you into the ground for 400 touches and you could hurt yourself and never get paid again, I see where he's coming from. They already franchised him once. I think that's BS. You can do it more than once, but that's a whole other story for another day. I agree with everything he's doing. You can see both sides of the story. But if I'm them, I'm actively trying to trade guys right now and make things happen. And it's very, very scary. Let's talk some waiver wire talk here. In the Thursday night game, Joe Mixon went down with fragments in his knee, little fragments that are bugging him. So he had the surgery, had them removed. He's supposed to be out 2 to 4 weeks. I was told this is similar to what Sony Michel had, and they said 2 to 4 weeks with him, and we saw how well that lasted, like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I'll believe this when I see it. Anytime you cut on someone and you say it's a minor procedure, I don't care. You cut someone open. There's nothing minor about that because some people are like, oh, we had an extra week basically because we played on Thursday, so on and so forth. Regardless, how excited are you to go pick up Giovani Bernard?
I've been very excited about Giovani Bernard. I'm being from Ohio and having to watch the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals compulsorily. I've noticed that Giovani Bernard over the years has really been underutilized. He's a terrific back. He's better than what his numbers put out. He can catch the ball out of the backfield, and he's not too bad running. So I'm excited to use him soon.
No, I think he's a great play. He's one of the top waiver wire targets this week by far, in my opinion. But I think he's in for at least 2 weeks of just because that Cincinnati offense looks so much better this year in a small sample. So, and he looked really good Thursday night against the Ravens when he was in there. I think he's in for at least 2 good weeks, if not a good month or so, where you can really take advantage of him again in a league where running backs are just a mess right now. You got their workhorse back. I think that's a big pickup to make for the fantasy season. Let's go to Cleveland. Rookie wide receiver Anotonio Callaway with no Josh Gordon now. We saw Callaway catch the 47-yard touchdown pass. My concern is he's going to be a big play threat, and you have to rely on Tyrod Taylor to get it to him. Maybe Baker Mayfield will be the answer there eventually. But what's your thoughts on Anotonio Callaway as you go to the waiver wire this week?
Well, Anotonio Callaway is an interesting pickup. I'm actually kind of on him because I do like his big play potential, but I don't think he's going to mature until he has a better armed passer throwing him the ball, and until Baker is thrown in there probably around week 10, you're not going to see a whole lot out of Callaway on a regular basis. He's going to be more of a flyer.
So with Josh Gordon gone.
Right.
You have Jarvis Landry, who's doing his thing. A little banged up right now, but I think he'll be fine. He's blessed after all. What are your thoughts on who gets targets there? Do they start finally using Duke Johnson again like they used to? Or is this going to kind of be just a mess that's hard to figure out right now?
Well, it's going to be a mess that's hard to figure out because the coaching staff seems to hate one another. I mean, nobody likes each other. Hugh's incompetent. He's just not a leader. He's done every misstep he could possibly make to anytime the Browns do something positive, he finds a way to undercut it. I can't stand Hugh Jackson. I liked him coming in, and I'm not going to lie. I was like, oh yeah, let's get Hugh Jackson. He'll be a great coach. Came in, he was awful. I think you got to pull the plug. No,
I definitely can get behind that. I thought Hard Knocks was crazy. Hilarious when Todd Haley and the D coordinator skipping my mind all of a sudden, the hard ass that he is. Greg Williams. They both basically give the middle finger to Hugh the entire time he talks. Like they literally they could care less what Hugh Jackson has to say. It's just like, okay, you got the corner office with the cool view of the practice field. Other than that, we're running this team. Just stay out of the way, little kid. That's what it looked like. Like, get out of here.
He looks like a substitute teacher.
Yeah, like when week 1, when Hugh Jackson says, "Oh, Josh Gordon, we're going to ease him into the game," and he plays like 75% of the game. It's like I got this kid. Get out of the way. It was amazing. That was probably some of the best stuff every week was just to watch their interactions in the coaches' meetings where they wanted nothing to do with him at all.
I would prefer Hard Knocks to be a season-long show about the Browns. I want to see how this works all year long. I need to see.
when Josh Gordon shows up injured on a Friday, that would have been amazing. How the Monday morning coaches film study when something went wrong and Todd Haley is telling Hugh Jackson, this is why I called this play.
And what killed me was like last week, I was really hoping for a good game against the New Orleans Saints and at least a higher scoring one. And what I got was a complete bomb dropped on the team. The team looked like the team came out and played flat because they don't know what the hell's going on. One of their best deep threats just disappeared off the face of the earth. And I think it really sucked that whole, even the Saints down with them.
Yeah, no, that was an ugly game. Looked like it should have some serious offense in there. And the Browns defense is better than people give it credit for, but it's just still the Saints in New Orleans. Like, they score on anybody. That's just how this works. So that was very surprising. I'm with you there. Not what was expected, but they did lose in Browns fashion. That was what was expected.
Very Brownsy fashion, yeah.
That very much happened there. Let's talk about another receiver for the Baltimore Ravens, John Brown. You know, he's hopped around, never really got his chance, and right now Joe Flacco likes him a lot. He's getting some love in his first 2 games, 7 catches for 136 and 2 scores. This guy looks like a good target on the waiver wire. What's your thoughts on John Brown?
I'm actually coming around on John Brown. And at the beginning of the season, I really liked Crabtree in that role. But it looks like John Brown's athleticism has just really taken over the job, at least as a solid wide receiver, too. The only concern with John Brown, of course, is his health. You know, as soon as he gets hurt, you're going to start wondering, can he get back on the field with his sickle cell anemia? So, I mean, I'm interested in John Brown, but I don't want to be in a position where I have to rely on John Brown.
That is a very fair point. I think he's a good, I'd say, wide receiver 3 on your fantasy team with wide receiver 2 upside.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to go get him if, like, I got, say, like a Jordy Nelson. You'd rather have John Brown.
Right.
I would.
I would too. I'm not Team Jordy anymore. Situations
like that. Now, if we didn't really talk about this when we did it, but say you had Josh Gordon, how do you handle him on your roster?
Well, if I have Josh Gordon on my roster, I'm probably just going to hold him until
do you try to trade him?
The smart thing to do is to try to trade him. But at this point, I'm like, if I've got Josh Gordon, may as well see what he can do.
I don't want to see the payoff, don't you?
Yeah,
like I've been through all this.
If I went through if I had Josh Gordon and I was fine with him with Tyrod Taylor, why not see what he can do with Tom Brady? I mean, it seems silly to hold on to a guy that long and then. But I mean, if somebody gives you a Godfather offer for him, then you got to do it. But ordinarily, I'm looking to hold him.
Would you trade him for James Conner?
Yeah. I mean, I like James Conner's production, and I don't see Lev Bell coming back until week 10. And even when he does come back in week 10, I don't know how he fits into that locker room.
No, I think that locker room pretty much is. It was pretty evident when those linemen said something, because if the team was still okay with Lev Bell, the linemen would have been told to keep their mouth shut. Like the fact that came out, that was very telling to me. I think that was telling to Lev Bell, because I think at first he might have been, okay, I'll wait a week. And then that stuff came out. And he's like, you know what? Screw it. Like, that's how it's going to be. I don't want to go get my – it'll be like a scene out of what the hell is the Army movie with Private Pile where he gets beat up with the soap and the socks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket, yeah. It'll be a scene like that where it's in the middle of the night. They're going to sneak in and go, this is what you did to us for 10 weeks.
Yeah, and plus he made them look bad. I mean, I do side with Lev Bell against management in terms of how much he's being paid and how they've been treating him and how they've ridden him hard and put him away wet. Yeah. But when it comes to your teammates, I think you got to be more honest. You got to be upfront. And you can't tell them you're going to be there and then not show up.
Exactly. If he right out the gate said, I'm sitting this out as long as I have to, okay. Right. They're probably like, I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. Right. Yeah, he told them I'm coming in and then didn't show, and changes things a little bit. Let's talk about another running back situation going to Philadelphia, the defending Super Bowl champions. Shocker, Jay Ajayi banged up already 2 weeks into the season. Corey and reports today is Ajayi is likely out this weekend.
Yeah.
So Corey Clement is playing, and this guy, we've seen him when he gets playing time play very, very well in the passing game and the running game, but especially in the passing game can do very, very well. I think this is a solid pickup, especially for this week. Obviously, I think he's a great DraftKings play. I think he's going to be chalkier than chalk on DraftKings. But what's your thoughts on Corey Clement, obviously, for this week and then potentially going forward?
Corey Clement has an opportunity to steal the job. I think that Jay Ajayi, he's a very good player, and he helped him win a Super Bowl, but he's not been there very long. And Corey Clement came in as an undrafted free agent and has just worked his ass off to get where he is now. Is a great back, I think, waiting to happen. Really slipped through the cracks on the draft. So I'm really team Clement. I really like this kid. I wish I liked him better when I was picking best ball teams, because I didn't see Ajayi going down quite so quickly.
Yeah, I thought week 2 was a little quicker than I thought. I thought he'd be like that 1B for a while and then eventually would get his turn. But yeah, week 2 is pretty crazy. If you had to pick one of 2 this week, would you rather have Corey Clement or Giovani Bernard?
I like Giovani Bernard just because he has an established role in an offense. His quarterback trusts him. He's in a really good spot. I think Corey Clement's going to have to get acclimated to the role. I think it's going to take him, I think between the two of them, if I had to guess how many fantasy points they're going to put out, it'd be something like they'd both be in the 15 to 12 point range. I mean, they're not going to be breaking anything open for you, but they're going to be solid glue guys.
You mean Carson Wentz coming back doesn't change everything for you? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right.
That's all I heard today. I'm like, guys, he just got cleared for contact. That still scares the crap out of me. Yeah. Like, he's not ready to play. Ease into it, boys.
Well, and that's another problem. I see Corey Clement getting used mostly to pass block.
Because you're going to
No, he's not, but he's going to have to start because
the franchise is back there. Yeah. And they can't have the Big Dick Nick can't do this 2 years in a row.
Well, at some point they're going to have to establish whether or not, if they can't get him to be a better pass blocker, then it's almost like you almost have to get somebody like a fullback off the waiver wire to help to cover that, because Wentz is too vulnerable. I think bringing him back this soon is more of a factor because they're panicking because Nick Foles just kind of completely fell apart. He went back to being Nick Foles.
I was about to say, he is who we thought he was. They just let him off the hook last year.
Yeah, I mean, I like the guy. I loved his performance in the playoffs and especially the Super Bowl, but that was his shining moment, and that's his 15 minutes of fame.
Exactly. A couple more guys to talk about here. Geronimo Allison, he's 64% owned in Fantrax leagues. I know that's not like a low number, but I still want to bring up the fact that 36% of Fantrax leagues don't own Geronimo Allison. So they must be 2 wide receiver leagues, because I drafted him in those places, or I picked him up immediately after week 1 going, oh crap, he's actually on the waiver wire. People need to realize when the GOAT is playing quarterback, he hits all of his targets. Right. And I said this over and over again in my wide receiver previews and everything. Aaron Rodgers said in training camp, I love this kid. I love what he's doing. He's running like good routes. When Aaron Rodgers says something like that, listen, just a thought. Like just a thought. What's your thoughts on Allison? We don't have to go too deep on this because I think I pretty much said a lot of it. But what's your thoughts on Allison? Only 36% of Fantrax needs to get their stuff together, maybe?
Yeah. First of all, I picked up a lot of Geronimo Allison, mostly in best balls and in my home leagues and things like that. I love Geronimo Allison. I think the buy-in with Rodgers is enormous, and I don't think that Equanimeous Brown and the other rookie, I can't think of the other guy's name off the top of my head, who's not hurt, because there's one that's hurt. But neither of the what is it, Marquez Scantling or something like that? Anyway,
something like that.
Neither of those two have come out like gangbusters to steal that job. That was a stealable job, but it just didn't seem like it materialized for him.
Let's talk about the running back situation in Green Bay. Jamal Williams has looked really, really good. He pass blocks great. Aaron Rodgers said that before, so there was your hint there. But Aaron Jones may be the better back when it comes to fantasy terms, and he's due back real soon. How much would you be wanting to go run to get him if he's still available?
I've actually kept him on a few leagues. I like his potential to come out of that backfield. I mean, he's the more dynamic of the two backs. He's going to get more done for you, and the pass blocking's terrific. But that's where it really comes down to. I mean, how important is that pass blocking going to be to Aaron Rodgers when he wants to put up points? If they have a frustrated time putting up points, I think they look at Aaron Jones coming and getting some more extra runs.
Yeah, I definitely see that as an option, because I think right now Jamal's going to be important based on the fact that Rodgers can't move. But yeah, when Rodgers' mobility gets a little better here, that may come into question. That's the way I see that one kind of going. Last guy I want to ask you about here, and I've seen his name everywhere, but people need to remember there's 2 tight ends eventually in Pittsburgh. But Jesse James had a monster weekend, which most teams do against Kansas City to start the year, it looks like.
Yeah.
And everyone's saying he's a must-add. He's only 29% owned in Fantrax leagues. Are you saying Jesse James is a must-add, or are you still realizing Vance McDonald's somewhere lying around, or do you not even care about tight ends?
Well, no, I care about tight ends quite a bit. As far as Jesse James goes, yeah, I think he's got that role locked up. I don't see Vance McDonald being able to stay on the field. He's just every couple of weeks there's like a little niggling injury with him that makes a big deal, keeps him out of a practice, and I just don't see him building up any consistency in the offense.
No, I agree with you there. Just a couple quick hitters here that surprised me. Ryan Fitzpatrick, only 37% owned. Do you believe he keeps the job when Jameis gets back?
Yeah, unless there's a catastrophic failure along the way, he's going to keep that job. In fact, I think that Tampa Bay is kind of looking for an excuse to move on from Jameis. He's been an embarrassment. He hasn't taken the job seriously. The talent is there, but his head just is not. Unfortunately, it's time to cut bait.
I completely agree. I think Fitzmagic is the real deal. And when you can do what you did after a game in Deshaun Jackson's clothes, big fan here. Big fan. That was absolutely amazing. Tyler Boyd of the Cincinnati Bengals. What are your thoughts on him in the wide receiver position?
I love him. I was actually all on John Ross at the beginning of the season as that wide receiver too, but Tyler Boyd has definitely shown proficiency with that offense that Ross doesn't possess. And I didn't see Boyd getting this better this quickly. I'm really surprised by him and kind of proud of the kid.
Yeah, no, he's really got it going and in a big way. And Andy Dalton seems to really focus in on him, which is something to keep an eye on there. Dan Bailey is out of retirement or out of the land of misfit toys and is with the Minnesota Vikings now. I even heard a couple people say Dan Bailey is their number 1 waiver priority this week, which I thought was crazy as a kicker. But what's your thoughts on Dan Bailey? Is this a guy you want to go upgrade your kicker position with, or is kicker a kicker?
No, I'm actually kind of I like a name brand kicker, and Dan Bailey does the job. He's going to be playing in a team that plays in most of its game indoors. I think that's a fantastic pickup. I mean, I don't know if he's a priority, but unless I have a decent kicker, I'm all over Dan Bailey.
I love it. Well, that about wraps up what I got for you. Any final players or anything else you want to chat about before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I was kind of like, let's talk about the Chris Carson Penny situation. How do you see that playing out? Because that has been an absolute disaster. You can't trust anybody who talks about who's going to be playing. Doesn't seem like Carroll knows. They were even saying that Carson was gassed, which is an enormous insult to Carson.
Well, they said he was gassed because of his running on special teams. Okay, if he's your number 1 running back, why the hell is he running on special teams? Like, that shouldn't be a factor. So you summed it up there just by that. It's a mess. They have no idea what they're doing. I thought eventually maybe it was going to take some time, like we're seeing. I thought eventually it was going to be the Penny show. I thought that was his deal. That's why they drafted him so early.
Right.
But Carson's shown the ability to play. Pete Carroll likes his guys, and he was a Pete Carroll guy. I still think Penny's the one you want in the end game, but I don't know how long this is going to take to hash out because it's a disaster right now.
Yeah, it's like I said, you can't really see. I don't know what the Seahawks are doing, and I really look for them to kind of tank the season. Get a draft pick in there. I've heard some chatter about maybe trading Russ Wilson and trying to get another young quarterback to build around.
Well, that's what I was about to say is the only way, and I like Russell Wilson a lot. I think he's a hell of a quarterback, but the only way they're going to fix things is to get money, and that means not tying it up in your quarterback. That's the only way it's going to work. They have so much money tied up in Russell Wilson right now. It's just once Doug Baldwin went down, and we don't know if – I think it's going to be a thing that's going to maybe linger most of the year now. It's going to be really shaky with them. So I think a trade for Russell would be a phenomenal move. I think that'd be great if it even might not happen until the offseason, unfortunately. But if you could do a midseason trade for a guy that talented, maybe maybe say the Saints lose Drew Brees next week or something. A team that could contain loses a quarterback, that could be where the game-changing door opens. Maybe, well, no, Arizona's already done. But stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like maybe Miami goes, Tannehill's not going to do it. Somehow we're still 2-0. Bring Russ into town. Like stuff like that. So I think it's an option and definitely a way for Seattle to break it down for sure.
Yeah, because I mean the modern NFL right now, how you're building your team is cheap quarterback and lots of expensive talent around them, and that's been a great model.
Yep, it's a phenomenal. Like, look what the Rams are doing now. They spent so much money. It was like a little kid going to Toys R Us, rest in peace, Toys R Us. But they literally let him go on a shopping spree through there and go, oh yeah, I'll take him. I'll go give Aaron Donald a big deal. I'll go get this receiver. Like, you got everything you want because Jared Goff's free.
Yeah, and you got Ndamukong Suh, who just kind of gets lost in the mix there. Like, yeah, that team is I don't know. I mean, that's like an all-star team.
Like, legit, that team should be playing in a Super Bowl unless like they fall on a banana. Speaking of Mario Kart trending, if they go on a banana peel, that's the only way this isn't happening. Only way it's not happening.
It's going to have to be an absolute disaster. I think it's going to take more than one injury to a top player. I think they can even lose Gurley and still be pretty good. I mean, that's going to take a lot out of them, but that's a very well set up team.
Yeah, because I'm impressed. It's a very great team. You saw Kelly in the preseason, but he looks really good. So that's a good backup there. I love the way their receiving core works between Cooks, Woods, Kupp. It's almost like an even distribution. Like, you can't even hone in on one guy. And that's one of the scariest things I can think of, is there's not just one elite receiver. Maybe Gurley's their elite receiver, for crying out loud. It's crazy the way they run that team.
Yeah, and Goff, he's growing into the role. I don't think he's like an all-pro waiting to happen, but he's a solid quarterback, and he's going to be a good contributor there. And plus, you could put my sister out there and get like 400 yards out of her
with an offense like that. I think we could have a lot of fun out there. So it'll be interesting to see how that plans out, because also, like you said, they get Seattle twice, they get Arizona twice. They get a Niners team that can't play defense. Like, literally, that could be 6 wins right there. Like, 6 wins. I know it's divisional and random things happen in division. I get that. But that's 6 very, very winnable games where they're going to be favored by, like, double digits most of those nights.
Yep. It'll be surprising if they don't make the Super Bowl.
It will be. At worst, NFC title game. Like, if they somehow get bounced early, it might be one of the biggest upsets in a long time. It'll be really interesting. So that'll be fun to kind of look back on this one. 5:55 p.m. Pacific time. Okay, I'll write that down. No, just kidding. It'll be fun to check out. But, Brad, this was a lot of fun. Why don't you let everybody know what you have coming up with the Quant Edge, what you're doing over there, and where they can find you?
Well, at the Quant Edge, I'm the draft nerd, so I handle all the draft stuff, like right into the best balls, the day-to-day football action, and I put out a ranking that people seem to enjoy using, and I'm just really excited about draft. And you can always hit me up about draft in my DMs or in chat on TQE. I mean, I'm always there. This is my passion. I know it sounds ridiculous. It'd be great to feel this way about a particular app, but I really like the draft game, and I think I can get people better at playing it. So thanks for having me on.
And guys, no problem. If you guys use promo code BENCHED, you get $10 off your first month at the Quant Edge, and you can go talk to Brad in that private chat. Just throwing it out there. Just humble plug right there. Go check that out. But go check him out on Twitter at @MeanMrMode. Brad, this is a pleasure. We'll definitely do it again sometime. A lot of fun. Thank you. It's been an amazing amount of fun for me too. Thanks for getting me over being so damn green. No problem. No problem. So the more we do it, the more fun we'll have. Everybody, this is Bench with Bubba, episode 122, Fantasy Football with Brad Reyes of thequantedge.com. Catch you guys later.